Alright, good afternoon, everybody. So, I just found out about this now, that there's some rumors about a Rabbi Shlomo Yehuda Beeri in the Holy Land. I'm assuming in Jerusalem, although he might be somewhere else in the Holy Land, who apparently is a new superstar in the Jewish world. And here's a video of him, Chol Pesach, visiting the Western Wall during the intermediary days of Passover. And a lot of Christians are claiming that this video is somehow a video of this rabbi being announced as the Messiah, and it was some special program in his honor that this rabbi is announced as the Messiah. A young rabbi, and whatever it is that he's some kind of a special rabbi. Now, I never heard anything about this, so that's the first thing I'll say. Until now, until today, I read some articles, listened to some videos about him, and the number one thing that I have to say is that nobody is the Messiah until they are the Messiah. Here you see someone kissing his hand, and again, if someone is coming from like an evangelical Christian background, that might seem very strange, but if you're coming from, let's say, Russian Orthodox Christian background, they kiss the priest's hand. I believe in certain Muslim communities they'll kiss the imam or the sheikh's hand, and the same thing in our communities, whether it's the Sephardic communities of the Middle East or it's our Hungarian Hasidic communities. We also have the custom that you kiss the rabbi's hand. It's a sign of respect. It doesn't mean that he's the Messiah. It doesn't mean that it's just a simple sign of respect for a distinguished rabbi to essentially to show respect. Same thing that the people are gathered around him. Again, it's not anything meaning that he's a Messiah or anything like that. It's just again, it's a sign of respect for a respected rabbi. And yes, you can have young rabbis like this young man who are respected. The one title that he's been given is the Yanuka. And it's funny because I'm hearing all of these Christians on these various videos, they cannot pronounce the word, and they don't know. We hit the thing there, and they're making it as if it's some kind of a strange title. The word Yenuka simply means really an infant, and it's a common term for a child prodigy. This is a man who apparently has been a prodigy since his childhood, now is an adult. I believe he's in his early 30s, if I'm not mistaken. And there have been in history many rabbis with the title the Yenuka, particularly among the Karliner Hasidim, a certain Hasidic community from Belarus, from Karlin Stolin, that you had these several rabbis who were, including the current Stoliner Rebbe, the current Grand Rabbi of Karlin Stolin, who have this title since their youth, meaning the current Stoliner Rebbe was coronated as Rebbe, I believe, when he was about 7 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And he was already, destined really to be Rebbe when he was an infant, when he was 1 year old. His mother said, wait till he's a little bit older before you make any kind of a coronation, And this is something, again, it's a common custom in Orthodox Jewish communities, ultra-Orthodox Jewish communities, Hasidic communities, have these types of things. So this man, he's not from any rabbinical dynasty. I believe he's actually like myself, a Baal Tshuva. He didn't grow up Orthodox, but he became Orthodox pretty young in life and got interested in religion and dedicated his life to Torah and established himself as a scholar. And he's deserving of this respect that's being given to him, but none of it indicates that he's the Messiah. All it means is just he's a respected rabbi, like hundreds of other rabbis in Israel. Oh, this thing fell again. It keeps falling. In Israel, in America, and in Canada, in Europe, all over the world, you have respected rabbis who people would show this type of respect for, and it's not even that strange for a young rabbi like this to be respected. I remember when I was in Jerusalem, very popular rabbi would be Rabbi Tzvi Meir Zilberberg. I spent a lot of time, in his presence, and the same type of respect would be given to him as a holy person. And I heard one rabbi was commenting on this. He's like, I'd be very happy if this is the Messiah, but the truth of the matter is, if nobody at this time is the Messiah. You could say that he will be the Messiah, maybe, who knows, but nobody is the Messiah until they are the Messiah. So if Elijah the prophet comes and this rabbi is coronated to be the Messiah, it'd be a beautiful thing. Kol kavod. But nobody's Moshiach until they're Moshiach. Meaning it's the same argument with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He's not Moshiach until he's Moshiach. Even to say someone's Bechezkas Moshiach, that someone is assumed to be the Messiah, it's not such a simple thing to say. So there are issues in Jewish law about how to establish that. So this whole hullabaloo about this particular rabbi being the Messiah, that's absolutely false. Could he become the Messiah? Maybe. And plenty of, I don't know his lineage, I don't know his ancestry, but there are plenty of people with that ancestry. Meaning, I know myself that my family's ancestry goes back to King David, but it's on my mother's side, so it wouldn't work for me. I'm not eligible. But there are plenty of people around, all throughout the Jewish community, that can trace their lineage back to, oh, this is not the one that I wanted, back to King David, father to son. And again, that doesn't mean any of them are right now the Messiah. You're not the Messiah until you're the Messiah, until you're anointed as the Messiah. That's what establishes someone as the Messiah. They have to be anointed. They have to be, accepted and so forth. And they have to do all the things the Messiah is supposed to do: rebuild the temple, and gathering the exiles and so forth. So it's not even anything to talk about right now as to whether this rabbi is, another rabbi is, someone who's alive, someone who has already passed on. All of these things are pointless to discuss, because no one is the Messiah until they're the Messiah. And really, the truth of the matter is, the person of the Messiah is not that important in Judaism. Yes, we do believe in Orthodox Judaism that there will be a personal Messiah, but that's really a minor issue. The main issue is how the world will be transformed in the Messianic era, and during that time there will be a king Messiah. But again, this term Messiah, this term Mashiach, having an eschatological sense, is really a new idea in Judaism, meaning you don't have that this figure is called the Messiah in Scripture. The word HaMashiach, the Anointed One, appears often in Scripture, but not in the eschatological sense that it's brought. And I know some people are going to bring Daniel, but we have different interpretations, obviously, in the Jewish world of those passages. And one passage is understood to be a reference to a person who is called in Isaiah 45 Moshiach. He's called the Anointed One, and that would be King Cyrus, who is called Moshiach, which would be the word for the Messiah, and he wasn't even Jewish. And then and one of those verses is understood by most of the Jewish commentators to refer to Cyrus, the Persian king. And another verse where it says that the Anointed One will be cut off is generally understood in the Jewish tradition to be a reference to King Agrippus, who was the last king of Judea of the Herodian kings, and that's what it means that the Moshiach will be cut off, meaning that from that point on there won't be any royal monarchy in Israel until the restoration of the monarchy in the end days, in the eschatological restoration. But that term Moshiach, Cyrus called Mashiach, my anointed one. God calls him my anointed one. So that shows that even a non-Jew could be called Moshiach scripturally. So you want to call Donald Trump a type, an archetype of a Moshiach, and even with some eschatological aspects to that, but that doesn't mean that he is the Messiah, son of David. One of these Christian videos I was watching, and this woman kept repeating time and time again that she's Jewish, but she's a Christian, and her religion is not Judaism. And she's saying, this idea that there are several messiahs, that's something that came later from the Zohar, and I don't believe that as a Jewish person. And that's who is she to say that, first of all? And she calls herself Rabbi even. The whole thing is quite ridiculous when she's a Christian. The fact of the matter is, first of all, the idea of Moshiach ben Yosef, of what's often called Messiah, the son of Joseph, meaning from the tribes of Joseph, from the tribe of Ephraim, not someone with a father named Joseph. That this idea of is in eschatology, again, it's not the idea of Messiah how it's understood eschatologically, but rather that someone who's appointed and anointed for a particular service. And similarly, there's a Mashiach ben Aaron, there's the Kohen Tzedek, and again, these are ideas that are biblical ideas. The idea of the Ephraimite Mashiach ben Yosef, which again, it's an eschatological idea, but it's not the Messiah how it's generally understood, but it is a type of a Messiah that comes from Zechariah, and the idea that's in the Bible, and the idea of the Kohen Tzedek, of the righteous priest and the restoration of the priesthood, that's from Ezekiel. So, these ideas, they really are actually, part of the biblical ideology, but yes, they're brought out in the Talmud and in the Zohar and in other sacred literature that we revere. But all of those things are based in the Torah, in the Pentateuch, in the 5 books of Moses, the first 5 books of the Bible. That's where everything has to be rooted in there. And so that's the main issue with Christianity and that separates Christianity from Judaism is that in Judaism you have the primacy of the 5 books of Moses and the other literature that's built upon that, meaning even to the point where the other books of the Bible are there to support the 5 books of Moses, as opposed to the Christian worldview, where what they call the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, is there to support what they call the New Testament, as opposed to the other way around. And with that being said, and I know it's controversial, but I would go even so far as to say that when you have some of these groups that call themselves Messianic Jewish, the vast majority of them are Christians, and their ideology is Christian and not Jewish, and they're using Jewish imagery just as a way to fool people into Christianity, which isn't fair. If you're selling something that's good, if Christianity is so great, sell it for what it is and don't try to dress it up as something else. Now, on the other hand, you do have, and so it's a different religion. On the other hand, the truth is you do have these groups that call themselves Messianic Jews that believe in the primacy of Torah and in the application of halacha, and those groups are in error because they believe in a false Messiah, but as long as they don't worship him as a god, they might not actually be heretical, but they would still be, for lack of a better term, chutz l'machana. They are still outside of our camp, just like, let's say, conservative Judaism, which is also essentially a halachic movement, but they're outside of our camp of strict orthodoxy. But as far as this particular story here, I haven't found any Jewish group that's made this claim that this Rabbi Beeri is actually the Messiah, or assumed to be the Messiah, or going to be the Messiah. That's not, and I think it's just something that certain evangelical Christian groups have grabbed onto in order to try to sell a certain type of eschatology. And again, it's linked to this kind of I would say selling some false advertising type of thing. This is not as much in that, but again, it's to try to be used as kind of an evangelism tool to say, there's all the speculation that obviously if the Jews are making this man the Messiah, he must be the Antichrist, or he might be the Antichrist. I'm not going to, this one speaker kept saying, I'm not going to say he is, but because of their claim of the Messiah that came already. And then the irony is the argument between the one video that says, this whole idea of 2 messiahs, that's not anything I ever heard of in Judaism. What you haven't heard of, lady, we could fill a library with. To say that you haven't heard of something doesn't prove it's not there. It's kind of like the people who say that there's no evidence of fraud in the 2020 election. I'm not allowed to say that on YouTube. I'm going to get in trouble with the YouTube police. Whereas on the other side, they're saying that the Christians who say that their guy is the Messiah, and meanwhile they say he's going to come back again, because he didn't get the job done the first time. So then again, he's not the Messiah until he gets the job done. Even I heard Michael Brown, who is one of these Christian evangelical teachers who tries to call himself a Messianic Jew, but the fact of the matter is, again, he rejects the primacy of Torah and the application of halacha, even though his own Jesus says that his scribes and Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses. And, he described scribes and Pharisees, for they sit in the seat of Moses. So it shows the ignorance of these self-proclaimed Christians who don't even follow what their own Jesus is quoted as saying. I don't believe that anything that's in the so-called New Testament is historically accurate. But again, that's what you have. So basically, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. We'll see you later. How do I turn this off?